Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and thanks so much for joining me and learning to make the Shenanigans weave this week. This is a stretchy bracelet, but I love the way this particular one looks because of the square wire jump rings that are in it. They give it a lot of sparkle as your wrist moves around. I'm going to be making the video using this mermaid color bracelet, which I absolutely love. This particular kit will not be available until next week. We had some technical issues with creating our kits this week, so I will make this available, but just not quite yet. And this will show you how to change your jump ring colors within the pattern. But essentially these are exactly the same, and these are gorgeous colors. I have a couple different designs coming out this week. So I hope you have a great time learning to make these, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So in order to start this project, the first thing I'm going to need is 10.1 millimeter O-rings. These are a different size from our 10 millimeter O-rings, okay? That is a much fatter O-ring. This one's a little bit skinnier. And then I have square 18 gauge 5/32 jump rings. Okay, so I have this in 3 colors made up here. You can do this in 1 color or multiple colors. And just keep in mind that when you do multiple colors like this with these 3 colors, that the sizes that I can make this bracelet in are going to be limited. So I'm going to be limited to numbers that are divisible by 3. Okay, so sometimes it can affect whether a design's going to fit you or not. Okay, so for the first step, all we're going to do is I've got green, blue, and purple. So seafoam, sky blue, and lavender sitting out here. So I'm just going to take my seafoam and I'm going to pick up 2 O-rings. And I'm going to close. The square jump rings are a little bit harder to close perfectly than the round rings are, so just keep that in mind. Do the best you possibly can with it. And it'll look great because they're ultra shiny and they really sparkle because of the hard edges on them. Okay, so you saw I just passed through 1 O-ring and I picked up another O-ring. Okay, so now I have a row of 3 O-rings with 2 jump rings holding them together. And then, so that was my seafoam, my sky blue, and now I've got my lavender. Okay, so this is gonna make it really pretty iridescent blend going around the outside of the bracelet. But as I said, when we do blends like this with multiple colors, it is going to create a situation where you are limited as to the sizes you can make. Okay, so I want you to just keep going with this, and I want you to do green, blue, purple until you have actually 25 jump rings. Let me clear this off so you can see what this is going to look like. Okay, so you're going to have 25 jump rings, and I'm going to end on the seafoam. Okay, so I started on the seafoam and I'm going to end on the seafoam. So just make sure to pay close attention to what your starting end was, green, blue, purple, and then your very end is going to be purple and then the green. Okay, so now that we have this, I've pre-made that for us. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your O-rings and you're going to slide these on to the chain one at a time. So on this first one, I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it approximately halfway down the chain. Okay, and that is going to sit, that happens to be sitting over one of the seafoam. And then when I do the next one, I'm going to pull it down to the sky blue that's next to it. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the next one over the lavender that is next to that. okay? So the whole point is that we're gonna have one rubber ring sitting over each of the jump rings that's connecting the O-ring chain, okay? So just keep adding these on until you have completely filled up everything. So I want you to come all the way to this end, and then you can work on the opposite end, okay? And just do the same thing. Just squeeze the end one in half so it's like a needle feeding it on, okay? And you can see I went to the purple that's beside that. Okay, so keep going, and then I'll be back to show you more. So you can see that I have completed that last part of putting an O-ring over every single one of the jump rings, okay? And in this next section, we're gonna kind of just ignore these and pay attention to our chain. So you see this is the first and second O-ring of our chain, and then the third. And then again, I'm just gonna remind you here before we get started putting this together and working this, that I wanna make sure this is green, blue, purple, because if you remember on the other end, we ended on green, but it went purple green. So to do this, what we wanna do is I'm gonna actually start folding this. Okay, so I'm gonna take this second O-ring of the chain. I'm ignoring the one I put on that's in between. I'm gonna take this and kind of move it up and to the left, okay? And basically, I'm just folding this in half, okay? So you can see I'm just folding that. But when I put it sideways, you can see that my jump ring that I'm seeing here is gonna be sitting vertically, not horizontally. You can see the rest of them are sitting out here on the horizontal the way I made the chain. Okay, so I'm folding this up, and then I'm gonna fold a second time. So this was the second ring of my base chain, and now this one in here, this is the third ring of my base chain, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just folding it. So I'm just folding it over to the left, but I'm then letting it curve up just a little bit so that my jump ring is sitting vertically over here. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna join, now we're gonna pay attention to these in-between rings. So now that we've folded it, we wanna join this ring here and this ring here. So this ring is sitting around the seafoam, and this ring is sitting around the sky blue, okay? And we're gonna join those together, but when we join them, we're gonna stay on the inside of this second O-ring of the chain, okay? So this one, we wanna make sure we stay inside of it, and we're gonna join this ring and this ring that's back behind together, okay? We're gonna do that with green. So we're basically gonna keep with the colors that we see we're leading into the row, okay? So I'm gonna pick this up. Now you'll notice I'm gonna squeeze this. I'm picking this up carefully between my fingers, so I'm holding these folds together. And I wanna pass through. Here's the one that's in front. That's the one that's going around the sky blue ring. And then I'm gonna go through the one that's going around the seafoam ring. And I'm using a seafoam jump ring to do this. And then if you remember, I said we wanna stay inside of this O-ring here, okay? So there we go. And this is forming our top row. So as we work, we're gonna have a low row and a high row of jump rings, okay? And this seafoam is part of the high row, okay? And you can see that those ones, as I folded it, the seafoam and the sky blue that were folded around, those are the low row, okay? So now, what we want to do next is we want to fold this one up that's to the right of the sky blue, and then I'm going to fold the next one up. It's the O-ring that's to the right of the lavender, okay? And let Let me straighten this out here, and let's look at this again. So we're really doing the same thing here. We want to connect this O-ring, and then the one that looks like it's surrounding the sky blue, but it's sitting back behind here. Okay, so it's this one back here, and my work unfolded. So, and then this one, okay, this one up here, and this one back here. So basically this new O-ring that's sitting in the high row, that's what we want to kind of look for. And we know we want to be in the center of that. So we want to grab the two O-rings that are sitting sitting on the inside of that, where the tops of these O-rings are inside this ring here. So this is the important part to look for, is this ring up here, and then we're going to connect the two that are in the center of it. Okay, so this time we're doing sky blue. This can be a little bit tricky to learn. But once you get it, this is a super easy weave, and you can really make one of these pretty quickly. But learning it the first time around can be a challenge, so just be patient with yourself. You will get it. If you can't get it, walk away, come back another time, a couple hours later, another day later, and see if you can get it again. Sometimes these things have to roll around in the brain before you can get the hang of them, okay? So now you see here's our seafoam and our sky blue. And once again, the one we just added, that's in the high row. And our low row is, again, the chain that we created in the start of this, okay? So let's do one or two more. So once again, I'm gonna fold, okay? And when I fold, I can see these two rings in the center of this high ring, okay? And now I'm gonna do the lavender, okay? So I pass through the ring that's sitting in front, and then the ring that's behind, and again, I'm staying inside this high ring up here. Okay, and there we have it. There's our first 3 rows all finished. No fuss, no muss, okay? We're just gonna keep going, fold up, and fold up again. Okay, and you can see now we have this ring and this ring sitting in top of this ring up here. So we're going back to seafoam now. Okay, and then we're gonna fold up again and fold up again. Okay, and then you can see here's our 2 rings in here. We're making sure that we're grabbing 2 rings that are inside of one of these high rows of O-rings. Okay, and just pass through. Okay, so just keep going with this. I hope you've gotten it. You can always back up this video, so you can always go back a little bit if you need to. Like I said, this isn't necessarily the easiest thing to learn, but once you get it, it is quite easy to make. And you can see how pretty the colors, you're starting to see that iridescent that we're gonna get by doing the green, blue, purple in this, and that's gonna go all the way around. So let's go all the way to the end. I want you to finish all the rest of this chain, and then I'll be back to show you how to finish this up. Okay, so now I've reached the end of my chain, and I probably should have ended on a sky blue, but I wanted to kind of show you how to add some extra rows, or if you need to, subtract some extra rows from this, and kind of add to this chain one row at a time, or one ring at a time, really. Okay, so you'll notice the start of our chain has a high ring. So that means when I get to the end of the chain, I want a low ring. So no matter what, I usually add this low ring individually when I get to the end of the chain. Now you'll notice we're only on green here. We're only on the sea foam. So in order to do this, all I have to do is pick up this ring, and I'm gonna shoot through this ring that's sitting back behind the ring on the end. Okay, and this is how I would add to the row one ring at a time. Okay, so I should have ended on sky blue. So I'm gonna need to add 2 additional O-rings to this chain in order to make it work like I want it to. So the next one is going to be added to the bottom row. Okay, so I'm gonna be passing through this ring and this ring here, and I'm looking for the ring, the O-ring, the rubber O-ring that's to the outside, so the last one of the low row, because I added a high jump ring and I have a low O-ring that's sticking out on the end. Okay, and I'm gonna actually turn this around to do this. It'll be easier for me to be facing in the opposite direction. Okay, so again, I pick up my ring, pass through, and I'm staying inside this ring that was on the end. Okay, so if you know how to do this part, so you can always add to it if you need to. Okay, so now I have a high ring. I just added a low jump ring with a high O-ring, and then I'm gonna add one more blue. So this is how I would typically end. So if I had finished on the sky blue, this is where we would have been, but this gave me the opportunity to show you if you need to add to the chain one by one that you can do so. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up the new O-ring and I'm gonna pass through this ring that's on the end to the O-ring that I can see that's behind it. Okay, and then now when I close this one, I will be where I want to be. Okay, so to finish this, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up the whole piece and we're gonna bring the start around to meet up with our end. So in order to do this, we want the start to lay on top of the end, okay? And I'll just show you here. Can you see this little crisscross that's happening right here? So you know we need a jump ring in here to add to the high row. And we're gonna add that first, and then you can see down here this overlap with this ring that's on the outside that we're gonna need one here. But I like to bring this up and lay it on top and do this one first. And once you connect this, the low one will be very, very obvious. Okay, so I'm going through the one that's sitting in front, the one that's sitting in back. Again, I'm staying inside the ring that is the high ring. Okay, and now if I hold it, see how we've got, here's our high rings, you can see those, and then you can see there's a hole in the bottom in the low rings. Okay, so you can see right here, this is where we're gonna need to put our final jump ring, is around these 2 O-rings, and this is the O-ring that we wanna stay inside of. Okay, and you can turn this around to do it. Once we're at the end, there's really no high and low, there's just 2 rows. This can be turned around any way you want to. Okay. And that is it. Now we have a beautiful mermaid color bracelet, stretch bracelet. There's lots of others of these. Of course, doing this with just one color O-rings and one color jump rings is very easy too, but I thought it would be fun to show you this kind of iridescent shift that we can get when we do more than one color, okay? So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this was a lot of fun to make for you. And be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. And of course, we are beadmeastory.com, so be sure to visit our website. Thanks so much.